Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter Rise, and it's time for another one of my weapon previews. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Lance, which I consider to be one of the most criminally underrated weapons. For some strange reason, a majority of the Monster Hunter player base quite simply does not like to play the Lance. Now, I don't know if it's because the weapon isn't flashy enough or if they just don't like the moveset or what the reason is, but hopefully this video will get you to at least consider the Lance, because even in the past I've made a video telling people like, look, you really need to try the Lance. This is a very underrated weapon, and a lot of people actually found their new main weapon with that video, and I was actually super happy about that. Even though I kind of prefer its more explosive brother, that doesn't mean that I cannot recognize the value in the Lance and just how fun it is to play. Like, one of the main reasons why I like playing Lance is for the ability to stand toe-to-toe with a monster, look him right in his eye, right to his face, and just tell him, go ahead, take your best shot. And then when he takes his best shot, I'll either counter it or I'll block it, and then I'll poke him right in the eye. Like, it's just one of those weapons that feels incredibly precise and lets you really just go to work on whatever you want to do to the monster. It's like, okay, I want to break his head. Okay, that should be fairly easy. You aim it upwards, you use the A combo, and you just like poke his head 3 times, counter, and then repeat until his head breaks. Or, I want to break his tail. You reposition yourself to the tail by using one of the many tools that the Lance has, and then you just go to work on that tail until you chop it off. It's just a weapon that feels incredibly solid and consistent when it comes to its performance. Now, having said that, I know that probably a lot of people will try playing it in demo and be like, I don't know, man, a lot of the other weapons that I've played seem to take less time to kill monsters. That's because in this demo you don't actually have elemental damage, and the Lance is a weapon that really shines when you put a decent amount of elemental damage on it, because a lot of its moves don't really have high motion value. But actually, that is one of the things that changes with Rise, because they're also giving us a new move that has a little bit of a higher motion value to it, which is going to benefit from higher raw lances. But, you know, it doesn't like completely change the entirety of the Lance around. It still retains its identity that it had in World, and I still find it very satisfying to play, despite the fact that I'm not a huge fan of one of its silkbind arts that I thought that I was going to like. But, you know, as per usual, let's just take a look at the basics, take a look at what changed, and I'll tell you guys my thoughts on everything as we go along. So if you think about World, the Lance hasn't really changed that much. You still have your triple poke, which you can do with A or X. The difference is that X gives you reach, whereas A gives you additional damage at the cost of a little bit of reach. And you can chain together 3 pokes in any variety that you want. So you can do X, A, or X, X, A. And you can chain these pokes together to continue like into an infinite combo using the counter, which the counter right now, I mean, it's always been this, but just for people that are new to the Lance, it's blocking and A. And so basically you can go like with your triple poke, and then you block, and then you can continue doing your triple poke, and you know, you can combine it with however many pokes you want. The hops is also still the same thing. You can chain together 3 hops, just like the same way that you can chain together 3 pokes. So you can go 1, 2, 3. You can also do it sideways, so 1, 2, 3. You can also do it to the other side, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I kind of messed that. No, actually, I didn't mess it up. I just ran out of stamina. I keep forgetting to look at the stamina when I'm demonstrating the hops. And very much like the Gun Lance, it also has a longer back hop. So if you press back and hop, you'll do a little bit of a bigger hop, and you can still chain that together with your other 2 hops. So, you know, that's kind of like this particular aspect of the Lance, what I like to call the rule of 3s. You get your 3 hops, you get your 3 pokes, and you can chain your pokes together with hops as well. So 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, hop. So it makes it very easy for you to like reposition with the Lance, you know, minor repositionings, that is, using these little hops here off to the side and whatnot. Now, if the monster moves a little bit further away, then you might want to use a different tool to reposition. I don't know exactly the name of this move, but basically if you block and then move forward and press X, you're going to do this, which is like, I think it's the guarded advance is what they call it, but this is also a move that was in World. And basically this allows you to close the gap on a monster a little bit faster. This also is a guarded advance due to the fact that you're blocking while you're doing it. So like, If a monster is roaring, you can actually advance in its direction while still blocking the roar and get ready to punish it. And then you can follow up this attack by pressing X again for a shield bash, or you can press A for an attack that does like 3 pokes in once. Like this will actually hit the monster 3 times, and that is why I'm telling you that the lance benefits a significant amount from elemental damage, and we don't have it in this demo. That is one of the reasons why the lance is probably not going to be shining as brightly as some of the other weapons. Now, an important thing about the guarded advance is that very much like the hops, you can also do it sideways and backwards. So if you poke and then you do block, X, and input a direction, but it has to be after an attack, you can do it in any direction. So let's say I want to go right, you'll do poke and then whoop, go to the right. Or you can do poke and whoop, go to the left. And that also gives you the option to then do the other 2 attacks that you can do, which is the shield bash with X or the triple poke with A. And you can also do it backwards and shield bash and backwards and triple poke. So while you can do minor adjustments to your position by using the little hops that we talked about, and then you can do like medium adjustments to your position using the guarded advance, particularly if you chain together like a couple of hops and then guarded advance and then the triple poke, that really gets you to cover a significant amount of ground. So you can do like minor and mid adjustments to your positioning in regards to the monster. If the monster really moves away, you're going to be kind of screwed, right? Because it's not like you can just like run after it. Or is it? Well, maybe you should try blocking, pressing X and A, and here we go. Whee! Now this is the lance charge, and it is very satisfying to do. Pretty much if you run through a monster and if you hit him with this, you're going to be hitting all the time that you are, thrusting with your weapon. You're going to be hitting and dealing damage, assuming that, your weapon doesn't bounce off at any time. You can just keep like going back and forth like this. And if you finish the attack, it actually gets another attack that deals additional move value at the end, and it feels incredibly satisfying. But all of this stuff is kind of like basic stuff. The one thing that was in World that I haven't mentioned yet, and fear not, Lance mains, because it's still here, is the super guard or perfect guard. I don't remember exactly what you call it, but if in the middle of a counter you press the B button, you're going to go into super guard. Now this is something that just allows you to block just about everything or extend the duration of the counter. So like in cases like, oh, I missed time to counter, I'm going to get hit. Nope. Just go into perfect guard or super guard, whatever, and you'll keep on blocking so long as you have stamina. So, you're looking at these tools and you're like, okay, this feels very much like World. What else do we get? Well, you get something new that is very interesting. So in World, you already had the sweep move that not a lot of people pay that much attention to. At least I know that I don't. Probably Lance mains will pay much more attention to it than I did back in World. But basically that is just pressing X and A, and that does a sweep. Now, an important bit of tech that I saw G-Rank Rurikhan do that I was really impressed the first time I saw him do this would be like he would charge into a monster. Oops, I mistimed that. He would charge into a monster, and then right when he got to his head, so like he would run alongside the monster. Imagine the monster is to my left right now. So he would run right alongside the monster, then he would get to the head, press back X and A, and you would slap him with the wide sweep. And the first time I saw that, I was like, oh, that is really cool. So what did they do in Rise? Well, they gave you the ability to charge that wide sweep. That wide sweep deals a significant amount of damage. As a matter of fact, the optimum combo for the lance is no longer poke, poke, poke. The optimal combo in terms of just like achieving as much damage as you possibly can would actually be poke, poke, and oops, messed it up. Actually, I'm not sure if I messed it up or if it's my controller. My controller has been giving me like stupid input delays. It's been very frustrating, so I'm sorry for that. But A, X, A. Oh, give me another delay. Okay, A, and X, A. Boom. So that is really good, and you can chain that together whenever you want. So you can go A, X, A, then follow it with another poke, but then you need to like reset your combo. So again, it obeys the rule of 3, so you can do it whenever you want. It can be the first hit on your combo, or it can be the last hit on your combo, but I don't think you get to do it 3 times. Yeah, you can't do it 3 times in a row though, because that would probably be a little bit too much. But yeah, you can basically introduce this new sweep into your combos, and that deals additional damage, and it is very, very satisfying. It gives it a little bit more depth instead of you just going like, okay, poke, poke, poke. Like, you can still do this if you want to play the old style. You can still do that, and I think that potentially in some weapons that style might even pay off depending on the amount of elemental damage that you actually have. But in weapons that have a higher raw, I think that the charge sweep is going to eventually pay for itself, at least in my opinion. So that's pretty much what the lance is looking like in Rise. And now I hear you guys saying, okay, what about those them silk binds? Well, one of the silk binds that we have, I can't really show it to you properly in the practice area because that particular silk bind requires actual execution. I'll probably try to be showing the gameplay footage while I'm doing it, while I'm talking about it right now. But basically, you press ZL and X, and your character does this stabbing motion with a kunai, and he sticks a kunai in the monster, and there's like a silk bind that gets attached to it between the monster and you. Now, I didn't exactly time how long this lasts, but it lasted a lot longer than I initially expected. So according to the description that they had on the website, this particular silkbind art was supposed to get the monster to attack you more frequently, but I haven't been playing Lance that much, but when I did it, I didn't notice that much. Like, maybe the monster attacked me for like 2 seconds after I did it, and then he went right back to his priority list of attacking whoever he felt like it. And Gaijin pretty much told me the same thing, like he used it and he didn't notice like any significant change in the monster's aggro. But what it does do, besides the idea of the monster focusing more on you, which at first glance doesn't really appear to be a thing, is it gives you the ability to basically jump to the monster whenever you want. By pressing ZL and B, you can just like zoom to the monster, so long as you maintain a certain distance. Because I think if the monster gets too far away, then the silk bind just breaks and you kind of lose it. But so long as you remain at a certain distance of the monster while you have this silkbind art active, you can basically just press ZLB and just zoom into the monster. And this then allows you to do an aerial attack. Now, an important thing is that whenever you use this, your character automatically faces the monster, jumps towards him in a guarded jump. So you are blocking. So say the monster is about to roar and you press ZL and B, your character turns to face the monster, jumps, blocks the roar, and depending on the intensity of the roar, I would assume, like right now it's able to block at least, I think, Mizu's roar. So like, depending on the intensity of the roar, you just go right through and then you attack him with an aerial poke. Now the aerial poke feels a little bit like, meh. Because like, I wish that, considering that this is like a special silkbind art, I almost wish that it had like a bit of a flashier attack or something. But again, it's just one of the characteristics of the gun lance is that it's not there to be flashy. It's there to get work done. That's kind of like just the style of weapon that it is. So it's still an interesting way to kind of like, you know, jump back to the monster and keep up with him. But at the same time, you already have the lance charge. So it feels a little bit superfluous to give it even another mobility thing. But just the ability to be able to turn on a dime. So like maybe you're not facing the monster right now and maybe you can tell that he's about to roar. Then you just do ZLB, you turn around, you block the roar, you jump to the monster, you close the gap. You do all of that. And you get to do this for about, I think, 30 seconds, which is how long the silkbind art lasts. But then again, it also uses 2 wire bugs. And the other silkbind art, in my opinion, is much, much better, which is a counter that you get to do, which I forget the name right now, because you guys know me, I'm terrible with names. If you haven't learned that by now, then you haven't been paying attention. But you get to do a counter. It is a very fast counter. And if you nail it, the intensity of the enemy's attack is going to buff you. So if you block a really powerful attack, then you're going to get like an aura around your lance and you're going to be dealing an additional amount of damage for a couple of seconds. Like, it's usually enough for you to do one combo and very little else, and then it just runs out. So this is a counter that they expect you to be doing like consistently. The problem that I had with that is because I'm not too used to playing lance, because, you know, even though I love the lance and I gave it its fair shake, my main weapon is still the gun lance, so I tend to play much more of that. But one of the things that happened to me was basically like at certain points I would get confused, so I would do the wrong counter. Like, oh, I'd be trying to do the regular counter and I would do the super counter, and other times it would be the other way around. And sometimes also like I'd be caught without wire bugs because, you know, it just with the lance, when you're getting into the flow, countering just becomes kind of like second nature. So I just be like doing, you know, silkbind counter, poke, poke, silkbind counter, poke, poke. And then I'd go to the silkbind counter again and I'd be like, oh no, there's no wire bugs. And I'd get punished hard. But it feels very satisfying because the silkbind counter deals a lot of damage. It seems to have a significant amount of motion value, particularly if you land it during a heavy attack. So it feels very satisfying to pull off. And naturally, it also affects your charged sweep. So that is some really good stuff, and that is a really fun art. So overall, the lance is super solid. I'm not 100% sure about that Twin Vines ability that we were talking about, but I'm curious to know from all of you lance mains out there, how do you guys feel about that particular silkbind art? Did you use it in multiplayer? Did you notice any changes in monster aggro? Were they targeting you more? Were they not? Let me know in the comment section down below. Personally, I think the lance is in a really good spot for Monster Hunter Rise, and I can't wait to see more. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit it up with a like. If you did not enjoy this video, hit it up with a dislike because feedback is important. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.